Secrets of how I designed my home. So I've just done a 23-week renovation and I want to share all my tips and tricks, good and bad, to help you out if you are thinking of renovating or decorating your own home. I'm talking how I decided on style, I'm talking hidden storage, and all my design ideas and how I brought it all together. Welcome back to the Ideal Home Show YouTube channel. Yes, that is right. The world's longest running home and gardens exhibition is now here on YouTube. So make sure to subscribe if you want all the latest trends and interior design inspo, if you're looking for home and garden renovations, or if you're looking for product reviews, tips and advice, we have it all for you here at the Ideal Home Show YouTube channel. My name's Lexy Carducci. You will know me if you have watched my previous videos here on the Ideal Home Show YouTube channel. I am obsessed with property. I do 3 different things in the property industry. One is helping people find properties. So we've put out a series of videos that if you are looking to sell your home, if you're looking to buy a home, if you're looking to rent, we have got some top tips for you based on my experience in the industry. I also have a construction and development company in West London. So we do flip projects, we do renovation projects. That's with my partner. This is where we have done our own home this year, which has been 23 weeks in the making. There's been a lot of ups, there's been a lot of downs, there's been a lot of learning in between, but we finally got to the end of the product, which I'm so excited to show you. We did do a full tour of this, by the way, as well, which you can catch in one of our videos too. And then I am also a content creator, but all for property, and I host and present property events across the country. Like I said, I'm obsessed. But today, what I'm talking to you about is all my secrets when I've been designing this project, which is my biggest project. Well, is it my biggest project yet? I guess it kind of is, but it's the only projects that I have actually done for myself. The rest of my projects have been as investment properties, which is another topic that we can always talk about here on the YouTube channel. But for today, this is focusing on my own home. So let me set the scene for you. I bought this 1970s townhouse in about January this year. It was a full-on 23-week renovation until we could move in. And then the rest of the works kind of carried on whilst we were living here. My very first point and my first tip is that initially the house that we bought was actually very livable. The only thing we didn't necessarily like about it, or that wasn't our style, and that's okay because everyone's style is different, was the kitchen. So we thought, you know what, we will just put in a new kitchen. Now, my tip 1 is that often when it comes to renovating, it's not just doing this, because there is such a thing as what I like to call the ripple effect. You start with one thing and that leads to a whole load of other things. It kind of triggers, doing that one bit of work kind of triggers, actually now we need to do this, now we need to do something else. So to tell you the story of my own home, we initially thought, right, let's just take the kitchen out. We're going to start there. That's going to be the one thing that we're going to do and treat ourselves to. However, when we ripped out the kitchen, we obviously damaged a lot of the floor that was underneath the kitchen. And then it was because we wanted to turn our kitchen round, it became this whole job where we pretty much ruined the entire kitchen floor, which then led out to the open plan dining space. So then we thought, okay, that's fine. We're now going to have to replace the floor. Totally cool. Then you start ripping up all the floor and then you think, well, you know, this is a long-term project for us. We want to live here for a good 5 years. And actually that means maybe let's invest in some underfloor heating. So then you put in underfloor heating, then you start doing the pipe work for underfloor heating. And then you realize that a lot of the pipe work in the property isn't as good as you think it might be and definitely needs an update. So then you're updating the piping, which means that you're then going to the top of the property and replacing all the pipe work. And then you're like, well, now we've got to rip out part of the bathroom to replace the pipe work in there. So we might as well do a new bathroom, and so on and so on. So we ended up going, okay, we're just going to take the whole thing back to brick and start again. So be aware that doing a project, sometimes you uncover some things that you might not want to uncover and it leads to a much bigger project. Keep in mind things like budget and the time it takes to do works and the amount of works that you're going to do. I would probably leave a little buffer there and plan for doing more and spending more than you initially think that you're going to. Let's say that. I know that is something that you probably don't want to hear, but that is the reality of doing any works on a property. How many times have you seen it on TV shows when someone's got X budget? I mean, how often do they actually stick to the budget? But often people are like, we have this budget, and at the end of it, it always goes over, doesn't it? That, unfortunately, is the name of the game. So tip 1, again, make sure you understand the works that you're going to do. If there's a ripple effect, that might mean that you might need to carry out other works as a result of those works, and plan for extra budget and time. So my second tip is all about style and inspiration. So many people, if you're not working with an interior stylist and you're doing it all on your own, how do you know what is your style? And then when you're researching the furniture that you want to buy, the paint colors that you want to use, the accessories, the ornaments and everything that you're going to be putting into your home, the materials to use, how do you know what fits together? I totally get that. We found the exact same when we were designing this house. So I think, first of all, look for your key inspirations. For us, that was Mediterranean villa. Now, not technically a style, but in my opinion, I feel like anything is a style. If you like something, search for those things. The first thing that I think everyone needs to do if they are doing any form of interior renovation or starting to design an interior project in their home, start with a Pinterest account. That gives you a really easy focus point to save all your ideas that you can then share with your family as well, and people can add into the folders. And it means that you can search keywords like we did, Mediterranean villa, and then start pulling together all the things that you like. Another great use of resource and research is magazines. There are so many home magazines that you can have a flick through, almost pull out like a mood board, like Pinterest, but what we did before Pinterest, and put together all the things that catch your eye from those magazines. Of course, there's the Ideal Home Show YouTube channel. We have so many different people that are doing videos, hosts or presenters, talking through their own homes, and everyone's style is different. So have a little watch through those videos as well, and you might come across someone who's very maximalist or is very tropical and has created some designs that really fit the brief that you're looking for. And of course, get yourself down to the Ideal Home Show exhibition itself. The Christmas one's coming up. We've got April as well, because there's so much inspiration from the speakers on stage and all the people that are exhibiting there as well. So going through a few different styles, and these are always things that you can research and have a little bit of a read through. There are so many out there, but I guess some kind of like popular ones at the minute. You've got Scandi, you've got boho, maximalist, minimalist, farmhouse, French country, art deco, mid-century modern, Japanese. I mean, the list is honestly endless. Industrial, one of my favorite styles. The list, like I said, is endless. So there's going to be something for everyone when you start researching these different styles. Now, what we've gone for is actually a mix, and that's totally okay to mix things up, because our style, like I said about the Mediterranean villa, well, it turns out that is a little bit of a mix between Scandinavian and Japanese, which we'll refer to as Japandi, and putting a couple of things together. So you've got that minimalism of the Japanese style, but then also the comfort of the Scandinavian style. And tip number 3 is a little tip on how to not be overwhelmed by your project, particularly if you're doing quite a big home project where you're doing a lot of different rooms, or you're putting together a lot of different pieces when it comes to your home. Always put them in separate boards. So instead of having hundreds of pictures saved on Pinterest, for example, make sure that each room has got its own focus and you're using a different board for a different room. I know that sounds really basic, but honestly, I began just with putting all my pictures under one property. I called it the key. I put everything under there, and it was so many pictures, and it got really confusing. And then you were constantly scrolling and trying to search for one specific picture. So just put it under kitchen, bathroom, even things like kitchen cabinets, kitchen island, paints, it just makes life easier. So that is tip number 3. Let's talk about my style and what I've incorporated into my home with this Japandi style, or the Mediterranean villa, as I like to call it. So this is quite popular at the minute, and particularly keeping things kind of minimalist, because we have busy lives, right? We're out there running around all the time. We're working. A lot of us maybe don't work from home anymore. We're back in the office. And so coming back home is really that escape. And neutrals have kind of really taken over. Neutrals, earthy tones, because when we get home, we want a bit of peace and quiet and calm, and really making our home a bit of a sanctuary. So if that is the vibe that you like, some of the things that I've done in my home, and we did do a whole episode on this, neutrals, but adding texture so that it's not just one bland space. We've done that video. You can catch that here on the Ideal Home Show YouTube channel. But just to run through things that I've done really quickly, obviously, number 1 is neutral. And yes, our kitchen is a dark kitchen, but black is actually a neutral colour. Fun fact. So starting with the flooring, now we used quite a unique product which is called micro cement. So it's a very thin layer that is put on top of a floor, like a leveled floor, whether you level that with screeds. That's exactly what we did. And it's a very thin, like 3mm coverage that sits on top of the floor that creates that kind of cement look. It's got a lot of movement in it. It's very natural. But the biggest thing for us is that there are no joins. Now you can recreate this look by using tiles, large format tiles. There's a company called Decton, and they do huge tiles. They were going to be our kind of plan B option. You can do this with a resin as well, but we used a micro cement. Now, here's one thing to always think about: your budget. Have it in the back of your head at all times, because it's very easy to kind of commit to something or fall in love with something and then realize, actually, we don't have the budget for that. So for us, for example, we wanted to put micro cement across the floors of our whole house, top to bottom, but it is quite an expensive material. So actually what we ended up doing was just doing it on the ground floor and the first floor. That way it's those spaces that are used the most. It's the entry hallway that people are going to really come into and have a bit of a showstopper moment and think, wow, this looks really cool. And that's where we thought to spend the money. Now, talking about those specific spaces, this leads me on to tip number 4. If you are thinking, okay, I want to do a bit of a project with my house, where is best to invest my money? I guess it depends what your long-term plan is with your property. Like we always say that we're going to live in this property for 5 years. That's our kind of guideline and our thought. But actually, you might be thinking, oh, you know what? I might sell up in a couple of years. There's options out there. You want to move, you want to go traveling, whatever life throws at you, there might be changes in the future. In which case, I always say, if you're going to invest anywhere, it's the spaces that everybody sees. That's your kitchen and living rooms mainly. Now, as you can see, the space that we're in is a huge open plan kitchen living room space. So this would be the ideal space to throw money at if it's a similar layout to your house, rather than necessarily spending money on things like bedrooms or office spaces that you might be able to get away with just doing like a lick of paint or a not throwing so much cash at it as an area. But it's always the same, isn't it? If anybody's looking to sell their property, it's the kitchens, it's the bathrooms. They are the spaces that people ideally want as a modern space. But yeah, in my opinion, I always think kitchen and living room, because if you're having guests around, they are the spaces that are going to be used the most. They are the spaces that are going to be seen by other people that are visiting your home. Some other features when I was Pinteresting my dream home, my dream Mediterranean villa: olive trees. Olive trees appeared everywhere in my searches. Now, it might be impractical to have a real olive tree inside my home, so we've gone for this lovely, I don't know if it will spin around anymore, let me see. Ta-da! Ollie the olive tree, which takes center stage in the corner of our lounge. He actually came from Costco. Love it. He's like the bargain of our entire home. Then we've got our gorgeous boucle sofa. Boucle was a material that kept popping up in my Pinterest images. It's not necessarily because it's that Mediterranean villa style. It's very Japandi, which is that, remember, that Scandinavian and Japanese mixed together. but it's also very trending. Like if you look anywhere, and you'll see behind us, we've matched the boucle with our dining chairs and our bar stools as well. And then upstairs throughout the rest of the house, I've also got boucle running throughout, like in the bed frames. It's a trending material. And then we've matched a lot of our woodwork. So this is our TV unit over here. And then also, I don't know if you can see my speaker, and the stand that my speaker is on is also made from the same wood. So our joinery team actually made this and put it all together, and we tried to match a lot of the wood throughout. We also added some fun features, and you'll see this in that video that I mentioned where I'm talking about neutral homes and how to add a little bit of texture. So we've added a fluted wood panel just to make it a little bit more interesting, as it is such a neutral space. And again, throughout my home, you'll see these wood panels used as bed headboards behind the bed. And then going back to the wood that we've added here, you'll see that we've matched that with our dining table that is in the kitchen. So it's picking out little bits that you can kind of run throughout your home as a bit of a theme. And that also keeps you on track when you are looking for different items of furniture or joinery or woodwork throughout your home. It's easy to pick things out and match them together. And finally, in my living room, I just wanted to point out my pivot doors, because for me, they just have changed the before and after of this property so much, because previously in these two door spaces there were French doors, which are beautiful, they look absolutely gorgeous, but ideally I wanted to go for the most amount of glass when the doors are shut, and then the most amount of open space when the doors are open. So these literally just pivot out, and you can see how wide that space is. Now, if we had, let's say, bifolding doors, they're probably still going to take up half of this. And then when they're closed, you have the different joins in between. So the pivot doors, I'm just absolutely obsessed with. And for me, to add light into our home was an absolute key factor. Oh, here you go. And you can see all of the olive tree in all his glory now from this angle. And also to note the colour of our pivot doors, they're framed in black, which also is quite a popular trend at the minute. And if you're looking to replace windows, I personally think that having the black outline, it depends what building you're in, but can create that really modern feel. And that can sometimes be a great place to spend a little bit of money and can change the outside of your property dramatically. Right, let's head on in to the kitchen.
Looking for appliances you can trust to help you create more than just meals? With KitchenAid, you get more than just great tools. You get a brand that's been supporting home cooks and food lovers for over a century. So whether you're mixing dough, blending smoothies, or experimenting with new recipes, KitchenAid products are built for versatility and for lasting performance. Everything from the iconic stand mixer to blenders and food processors is designed to help you express your creativity and get consistent results every single time. And with new colours like Flutter for 2025, you can add a personal touch to your space while enjoying innovation you can count on. Click the link in the description. KitchenAid. Classic style, endless possibilities.
Okay, into my kitchen, and my next tip is actually around future-proofing. So what do I mean by future-proofing? Well, it's kind of designing your home for if you ever might sell it or rent it out. Now, I know a lot of us are never really thinking that far forward. However, if you're spending money on your property, you don't want to do it and then almost like down value the space that you've got, because life changes. You never know when we might actually need to sell, or who knows, rent it out for some reason or other. My partner and I are always considering short letting our home and going off traveling for a couple of months. Always something that plays in the back of my mind. So even though there's just the two of us that are living in this property, we've designed it as a family home, just in case it ever came to sell it or rent it out or short let it. It is, at the end of the day, a 5-bedroom home. We're living in it just as a couple and our little dog, so we're using it as a 2-bedroom. But of course, that's not going to be for everyone. So you kind of still want to think about appealing to the masses. Now, I'm not saying don't go on a mad one and change things for your style, because at the end of the day, all of our styles are different. So yes, paint the walls a color that you absolutely love. Yes, paint your kitchen a color that you absolutely love, because those things are very easy to change. It's keeping the bones of the property that can appeal to lots of people. So for example, we don't need a massive fridge freezer, but we've put in a family-sized fridge freezer anyway into our property. It was really funny because we had a company called Kitchen House design our kitchen, and my boyfriend and I didn't even really think about storage until they said, hey, if a family home is going to expect storage space. So we've put in one of these pantries at the end for all your food, and we opted for a double oven. I don't think I've ever used a double oven in my life, but again, when you're thinking about who might use this space in the future and families, they're probably going to want a double oven. The other thing is our dining table that we've had built in here. It's got the space to have 6 people sitting round at this dining table, although we actually really only use it for 4. So a little hack that we did was we bought 6 chairs that can slide along. Like you see, you could easily fit another chair in the middle here. So we got 6 of the same chairs, and 2 of them I'm just using in other spaces throughout the house. So one of them is my dressing room chair, and the other one is actually in our guest bedroom as like a desk space. So that was a little hack that I always thought of as well. And also, things in a project a lot of the time don't go to plan, believe me, I know. And hindsight is a beautiful thing. Or when you're working on a project, there's lots of things that can happen that means your plans change. Maybe you run out of budget, maybe building control tells you you can't have something that you'd planned for or that you wanted. So in this corner of my home, over here, we have a massive blank space. Now, I'm leaving it blank for the minute because we're in the run up to Christmas, and I'm like, that is the perfect spot for a Christmas tree. However, in hindsight, what we probably would have done is made like a bar and coffee station in that area. So we would have had a wine fridge, maybe some shelving for mugs and cups and glasses, and then also put in a coffee station as well. So it would have been like a little bit of a bar, coffee station, wine fridge kind of zone. However, what we were supposed to be doing was cutting a hole in the floor there that would have created like a mezzanine level. So when you came in on the ground floor, you had this gorgeous like double height ceiling. However, we were told by building control that we were not allowed to do that, which is absolutely fine. But of course, it changes the plan of our, not the whole kitchen, but if we designed the kitchen with that information in mind, we may have designed it slightly differently. But that's okay. It's all part of the fun, and hindsight is a wonderful thing. And that could just be another project for another day. Now, I work as a property finder as well, which means that I help people that are normally coming into the UK to find a property for them, specifically in London. And one of the biggest things that people are often always looking for, and everyone is the same, is storage, because you can never have enough storage, right? We will always find something to fill those cupboards with. And my boyfriend and I thought throughout our home, we didn't have enough storage. So we kept adding little things. And now we've got this kind of like hidden storage all over our home. So from our kitchen suppliers, they actually gave us extra material that matches our kitchens. And we had our team of builders cut this material to a size that we wanted it so we could include storage. We also wanted to put in a fireplace here as well, just for like another added fun feature. So now we've got built-in storage up here, which is my alcohol cupboard / storing all my coffee. And also at the bottom, it's all the little things that we don't really think about, like ironing boards and hoovers and cleaning equipment and all of that. It all takes up space, doesn't it? So in the bottom here is where Henry the Hoover goes, and all the little vacuums and cleaners and the mop, and just hide it away under there. It's also secretly our access to our underfloor heating, where if there's a problem, we can access that. So we've created a lot of storage around our underfloor heating and other things that you might need to access, like boilers, gas meters, electric meters. Wherever they are in your home is the perfect place to kind of box it all in and create some additional storage. In our kitchen, we created a pretty big island because, again, remembering that probably the target audience if we ever came to sell or rent this was going to be a family. So putting in that social entertaining island for having lots of people around and visiting your home. And not only that, but underneath the island is a whole row of, you guessed it, more storage. So we've got all these pop-out cupboards where we store, well, I'd put my laptop in there, the dog's toys, all those random little bits that you just never know where to put them. There they are, hiding away under the island. Finally, in the kitchen, a couple of little tips to be able to save money when it does come to kitchens. We basically went in when we were designing our kitchen with top of the top. We were like, right, let's have it all and see what it prices out at. Already knowing we had a kind of budget in our head. So then you get worst case scenario, and then you can start working backwards from that to reach your ideal budget. So things that we took out, worktop materials. There's a lot of decent worktops now that don't have to be quartz or don't have to be marble. You can create that same desired effect, but with a less expensive material. Things like taps. I mean, we ended up going for a cooker tap, which I absolutely love, but ask yourselves the question of, do you need to spend, £1,000 on a tap? Yes or no? How much is it adding to your life? I will say though that I'm never using a kettle again now that I've got a cooker tap. I'm absolutely obsessed with it. And finally, appliances. I say finally, but before I come to appliances, removing cupboards. So we were very much considering what I just showed you, the other side of this kitchen island, removing those cupboards, because actually you take out cupboards and you save money on each cupboard that you take out. So we were considering taking those out, but that's always something that you can have a think about. Do you need that additional cupboard? Like for instance, you could very easily remove these cupboards from this kitchen and have a different splashback and create a different effect. And like I said, appliances, now there's lots of different kind of updated appliances. For example, we've got Bosch appliances. I think these are like Series 6. I would say Bosch have Series 8. So all of our appliances, we actually downgraded because we thought, well, I'm not a professional chef. I'm not going to know the difference between a Series 8 and a Series 6. Just give me something that looks good and works. So always, I think, start with worst case scenario, and then you can work your way back by removing things to get to the budget that you want. Now, welcome to the entrance hall of my house, which I don't think I have shown you, because when I did the full tour of my house that you might have seen on the YouTube channel, I think it was one of the first videos that we posted, we hadn't finished this area. So here's what it's eventually ended up looking like. Again, we've got the micro cement as you walk in and micro cement all the way up our stairs. Some of the fun features that we absolutely love about our hallway, we wanted to make it a showstopper space. So often your entrance hallway is somewhere that you may consider spending a little bit of money, whether it's on fixtures and fittings like lampshades and things like that. Like I mentioned upstairs, this is where we were going to have that double height ceiling and have a lovely kind of light feature that would come down to this beautiful mezzanine area. Anyway, that dream did not happen, but that is okay because we made another dream happen. So over here is, my boyfriend will hate me for saying this is technically our garage, except it's not a garage, it's a showroom. You might have noticed that we don't have a lot of art in our house, so the car is our one piece of art. In fact, if we ever rented this place out as a short let, we always said that the car would come with it because it is a bit of a feature. It's one of those things that people come in the door and they go, wow, this is different or this is unique. And we've also created that by using the micro cement is very unique. It has a really kind of show-stopping wow effect, and also lighting. So you'll see that we've got the recessed spotlights that go up the sides of the stairs. So they are basically built into the wall, and then also above the car in the garage you'll see the LEDs around the top, so it kind of highlights the car. So another one of my favorite features down here is our crystal partition, particularly if you are looking to create a kind of open space but you want some soundproofing between rooms, let's say. So this works really well between maybe like a kitchen and a living room or an office space. It allows in so much extra light, but it's also quite a cool feature, and it's soundproofed. It will retain heat, so it acts as a perfect divider. And again, it's just something that's a little bit different. Now, coming back here into the hallway, more storage. I always think stairs are such a wasted space sometimes that could be utilized for storage. A lot of older period homes may have stairs underneath this that go down to a basement. Often it's the perfect place to put in a guest WC or simply use it as storage. So under here, we have shoe storage there that pops out underneath. And our builders actually built this for us. So we didn't go anywhere and have this necessarily made by a specific company. We just reached out to our team and asked them what they might be able to do with this space under the stairs. We also, and this is a great top tip if you have quite a, let's say, techie home, to have a specific cupboard that's got everything that could possibly go wrong in my house. It's probably fixable in this cupboard. So in my cupboard under the stairs, it's got access to everything. All of our Wi-Fi and our internet is accessed from this cupboard. We've got our underfloor heating manifold in there. We've got gas meter. We've got electric meter. So like I said, if anything goes wrong in my house, I can direct people to this cupboard and they could probably find out a solution to the problem just by accessing it in here. It also makes the perfect space to store things like we've got golf clubs around the corner in here. We've got some AstroTurf around the corner in this cupboard. Good old Henry Hoover. We've got a bucket. I've got my suitcases. Honestly, it just teams up as a perfect space under the stairs. Absolutely utilize your space under the stairs. So also downstairs in this space, we've got a guest loo / shower room. There's actually a full shower, almost like a walk-in wet room that is down here, because technically, and I'll show you this in a second, next door to here is what would be considered bedroom number 5. Now, I'll show you that in a minute and why it's so important for us to kind of keep that as bedroom 5, even though we're never going to use it as bedroom 5, but I will explain the thought behind that process in a second. But first, I wanted to show you again how we have used that same wood that we've used upstairs that matches our kitchen all throughout the house. We matched it to the colours of the cupboards in our kitchen and our kitchen table. Now, here's another fun tip. It's a funny story because when we ordered these, it was 60 pieces. So we did this cabinetry down here. We did the TV stand that I showed you. We did my dressing table in my dressing room. We did all of the joinery in my boyfriend's office and in our guest bedroom, which I'll take you upstairs to show you in a second. It was 60 different pieces. We had measured everything. We knew exactly what sizes everything needed to be. However, when they were delivered, they were not labeled. So we then had to go through every piece. It literally took a day to go through every piece and find out which piece was what by measuring it and aligning it with all our notes. So there's a lesson. Make sure every piece is labeled. Anyway, this is our utility space as well. So we've got separate dryer, separate washer, and this folds back into here so that it doesn't get in the way of the door. And then we've got another cupboard in here that is full of everything to do with washing. It's got all our washing powders, washing liquid, comfort softener, all of that in that cupboard. And our builders, again, created all this joinery. And that's my next tip, is ask your builders what they are capable of. Sometimes, everyone's got their specific job that they are good at, but people like to have a go at things. So our builders were like, I don't know, I haven't done one of these before, but let's give it a go. And it's come out perfectly. So there you go. If you don't ask, you don't get, right? This room that I'm stood in is technically bedroom 5. Now, you remember when I spoke upstairs in the kitchen about future-proofing, this is exactly what we've done with this room as well. We don't need 5 bedrooms, but if we were marketing this property, having a 5th bedroom would definitely make it more valuable. So this is actually our storage room. We've got inbuilt wardrobes that are in here. We keep our bikes in here. I've got all my coats that are in the wardrobe over here. And then this space on this back wall, we've had set up with light switches, if you can see either side here and over here, and plug sockets as well, because this, if you use this as a bedroom, is where a bed would go. So very easily, you could switch this back to a 5th bedroom if I was going to market this house. And again, it just future-proofs it going forward to keep this space as a flexible space that would add value as a fifth bedroom. Welcome to my dressing room. This is probably the room that I spend most of my life in, getting ready for my day, deciding what to wear. And I've got so many stories and so many tips from this room. The biggest one being, guess where my wardrobes are from? Shh, they're IKEA packs. Can you believe it? Yes, this whole room is IKEA packs. We've got loads of different styles. You can basically create it how you want and literally design your own dream wardrobe. Honestly, it was giving Sims and designing like your dream house. I had way too much fun designing my wardrobes. And of course, you can design it to how you use it as well. Whether you want long hanging, if you want bits of double hanging, how you want to organize summer versus winter, and all of the above. If you want shoe storage, like we've got over this side as well. You can have LED lights that are put into it, like we've got all across this row. I just had so much fun putting it together with IKEA packs. And I think people think maybe it's not going to be the best quality. I will come back to you on that. I mean, it hasn't fallen down yet, and there are lots of clothes hanging in this. So I'm thinking that it's going to last pretty well. And it comes in a variety of different colours as well. I'm going to show you upstairs and what we've done with my boyfriend's wardrobes in our bedroom upstairs, because that is quite the hack as well. So definitely get quotes was the tip that I was going to come back to you on, because putting in IKEA packs into my dressing room, and I'm looking at this now around, I've got like 2 double wardrobes that you can't see that are out of camera shot here that are long wardrobes. We've got the shoe storage, and then 1, 2, 3 like 1 meter wardrobes as well that are running along the back wall. All of that in total, plus the install as well, and paying for the work and the time that it took to install, was £3,500. Do you know what the bespoke fitted wardrobe companies quoted me for this entire room? Between £10,000 to £15,000. And yet they look great. Yeah, they are perfect for if you want to install joinery into unusual spaces, like when we were talking about understairs storage. But that is a huge difference. And I'm sorry, but I'm IKEA every day. And the fact that you can really personalize it and it can become quite flexible, I think is a huge bonus as well. So I'm all for IKEA. Now, also going back to future proofing, I know I keep banging on about it, but I am a property investor at heart. So I'm always thinking about if I'm ever going to sell and how I'm potentially going to maximize my money on a property. So we have future proofed this room as well. So here you can see my desk that is built in. So this is my makeup table. It sits between a wardrobe that's here and this wardrobe. Now we've measured out this space and we have put in plug sockets behind this so that this can just slide on out and you'd slot in a queen bed into this space, and boom, this room instantly becomes a bedroom with loads of storage. So this would then technically be, we've got bedroom 5 that's downstairs. This would be another one of the bedrooms. There's technically 3 bedrooms on this floor. This will be one of them. And then I'm going to take you through to the other 2 that we've actually combined into one room, but put in a clever separator. So I'll show you that now. Right, so on the same floor as my dressing room, which we just came from down the hall, we have 2 further bedrooms on this floor, which we've used kind of differently and combined a space. So what I'm stood in here is my boyfriend's office. Again, you'll notice the joinery that we've had built in. This was part of that 60-piece joinery set where we didn't know where all the pieces were. But then if you come through this way, what we did over here was knock down this wall, because there was a wall that was originally here that separates the office from the guest bedroom. So here we've got our guest bedroom. We've had all their wardrobe space built in as well. Some nice little display cabinets and a makeup table or desk or whatever our guests might want to utilize this room as. However, because the office space, let's face it, is going to be used every day by my boyfriend, but our guest bedroom may only be used once or twice or a couple of times throughout the year. It's such a big space that we didn't want my boyfriend to just kind of be shoved in a tiny little box room as an office. So we knocked this wall down to open the space. But if we have guests, we inserted this, which is called a telescopic pocket door. And it sits into this space here, it locks, it sits in this space when it's open, but when we want it closed, it just closes itself off, and it's perfect. It's soundproof as well. You can lock it, and for us, it's just the perfect use that if we've got guests, they've got their own private space, but when my boyfriend's in his office, or if he has anyone around for his office meetings or anything, he's got this entire space, and it's a lot brighter, and he doesn't feel all cooped up in an office room. That was my fun little hack for this space. I also want to highlight how I know that I've gone on about future-proofing, because if we ever sold this place, it's very flexible. You know, someone could rebuild this wall if they really were going to use this as 2 separate bedrooms. If you rented this out, someone might want this as an additional suite, and then you could turn the office space into a dressing room. Like, there's so many uses of space. It can be quite flexible and suit everyone's needs, because we all live differently, don't we? And we've designed this space so that if we did ever sell it, or we did rent it out, or we did do a short let, it can be reconfigured for anyone's taste and anyone's lifestyle and how they want to live. Now, I never think design a space necessarily with someone else in mind when it's your own home. Yes, if you're doing an investment, it's a different story, it's a different ball game. But if you are creating your home, I see so many people and so many of my clients take properties or design the way that they're going to live around their guest bedroom. So that top tip is design for you and the way that you live your life, but always in the back of your head, have a little think about flexibility and future-proofing. Here you go, you can probably see that from a better angle as well. So office space, this side, you can see where the telescopic pocket door sits in here, and then coming through to our guest bedroom over this side. Now, another really quick little design feature that we did in this space, because it's so neutral downstairs, we didn't want to move away from the neutral and like earthy Mediterranean villa colours, but we did feel like we didn't want to go completely bland all the way through the house. So we opted to experiment with a little bit of paint, and we were going to completely colour drench these. Now, colour drenching is where you'll paint like the walls and the ceiling in the same colour, but I feel like we just weren't quite that brave enough. But sticking with that same colour palette, and if you're doing a neutral home, using some more of the tones and the colours that fit within that neutral colour palette, because it doesn't always have to be the whites, the creams, the beiges. You can opt for like a mossy green like we have done in here, or even like autumnal tones. So if you think about burnt oranges and darker browns, and when I take you upstairs, I'll show you the colours that we've used up there. And another little hack that I wanted to tell you about, which is kind of naughty, but I'm going to share it with you anyway. So we found these amazing paint colours that we absolutely loved. They were quite expensive. So what we actually did was we went and had them colour match. So you find the colour that you absolutely love, and then you take it in somewhere else and you get it colour matched. It's very naughty to do, I feel. But there are a lot of places that offer it, and you can end up paying so much less. Like, I think we probably saved £10,000 by colour matching our paint. Okay, final room in my house, and we were on the top floor in the main bedroom suite. I guess you call it the master suite or the main suite, whatever you want to call it, up here on the top. Now, I wanted to point out 2 things. One, remember when I talked about using like a neutral colour palette? Well, here we've done 2 different shades. So we've got a lighter, kind of slightly pink undertone colour this side, and then it's contrasted over this side with a darker tone, which is all across this back wall. Now, also, you'll see we've got another set of wardrobes that are here. So what we actually did, these are IKEA packs again, but we had them sprayed the same colour as the wall. And actually, here's a little thing that I may consider doing differently or adding to in the future. See this gap at the top of the wardrobe where it's not quite properly inbuilt? Well, you could very easily have your builder or joinery person fill in that gap by slotting in bespoke strips of wood along the top that are then just sprayed in the same colour as the wardrobe to tie it all in and match it and make it look like it's basically built-in storage. And another thing that I said in there was spraying. Spraying paint is such a good way to cover a room very, very quickly. So we had a team of 2 come and do our whole house, and I think they probably took 3 days to do the entire house by spraying it. So easy. It does create like a finer layer, so maybe it's slightly more prone to chipping or peeling. We did have an issue where we used some masking tape downstairs in our house and we ripped it off the wall without checking it, and it ripped a layer of the paint off, so someone had to come back and do it. But that could have been a base coat or something to do with the prep work of the paint. We don't actually know, but just a warning. Okay, so my final thought of this video, I'm here in the ensuite bathroom for the main bedroom. And you can see it's got a completely different vibe from the whole rest of the house. It's very dark. We tried something different in here. We call this our nightclub bathroom. That was the kind of inspo for this room. So finishing on a note that is, give something a go. Try it, try something different and see what works. Have a bit of fun with it. That's the whole point. Like, we're here to enjoy our homes. We're here to try new trends. And I always think, what is the worst that can happen? You repaint something if you don't like it. Okay, it's hard to retile an entire bathroom, but I do love it. I love this space. And I think if you're going to go dark anywhere, try a bathroom. There you go, all the design and style secrets from my home, my big old 23-week renovation. It was a long process, but a fun project, and that's always what I want to make sure I get across in these videos, is that it should be fun, it should be enjoyable, whatever project you're thinking of doing to your home, or if you're just here for some inspiration for maybe a future project, then make sure you enjoy the process. And hopefully I've given you some tips along the way. And if you've liked this video, there are plenty more where this came from. I've got a whole long list of things that I'm going to be filming, not just about my home, but also my tips as a property finder and working within the property industry as a developer and an investor. Loads of tips on if you're buying, renting, selling, or looking for a home, particularly in this period. We're coming up to the new year. There's lots of change going on, so there's lots to talk about. And we've got you covered here at the Ideal Home Show YouTube channel. So hit that subscribe button here at the Ideal Home Show YouTube channel, where we bring you all the home content, product reviews, tips, tricks, hacks, DIY tips, before and afters. We have got you covered for all your home projects and all your home inspo as well. So I've been Lexy Carducci. I will be back with you very soon. I've got a whole list of videos that I've planned for you and I will see you soon. Ciao.